Julianna Dawson is the proud founding president and CEO of Whole Life Change LLC.
I created Whole Life Change LLC because there was a specific thing I wanted to bring forth in terms of helping people from wherever they are get where they want to go. It's bridging the gap between the life you have and the life that you want. Usually I work with people one-on-one, first to find out where they are. I take them through a process to figure out where they want to go, what they want to be, or what they want to do. Most of the time, it's a person who either wants to start their own business or improve the business they already have. Sometimes it's a person that wants to write their first book or their next book. It really depends on what that first conversation leads us to. And then we come up with a strategy and figure out how to make one of those things that they choose actually happen.
And so how long would it normally take you to work with someone to get to a whole life change?
Well, it really varies. It depends on the person and what it is that they're after. So I've had people who I may be communicating with for the first hour or two, and they'll describe that they've already had such a shift in perspective, and they don't understand how they actually got there, but they're already where they wanted to be in terms of,
Wow.
how they wanted to change the way that they felt about their life. Even though this has happened many, many times, it's always very surprising to me every time it happens, and happens so quickly. But if a person is looking for something that's more specific, for example, I've had people during the course of 24 sessions or something like that, they will get through the process of writing and publishing their first book. I always tell people we could lock ourselves in a hotel room and work for 2 days and get that done. Or we could spread it out over the course of a couple of weeks or a couple of months, or once a month for 2 years. That's why I say it varies. I've also had people who have wanted to change their careers to something totally different that might require going back to school for a degree. If it's a 4-year degree that you're going after, then I may be with you for that period of time as you kind of navigate your way through that change. But that'll be a very different process. It's not like we're talking to each other every single day or anything like that for 4 years. It really depends on what the person is after.
We hadn't really talked about who you serve.
I kind of base that on my past self, right? Understanding how my past self felt when I was working in corporate America, the things I wanted to do myself. You have your full-time job at work, you're working 8+ hours a day. If you're a mom, right? But you still have these entrepreneurial tendencies or desires. You want to start a business or you want to do something else in addition. How do you fit that into your life and you're a parent at the same time? I really want to help people who are in that place where they have that experience and expertise in a specific area that they're already working in, but they still have that desire for something else and something more. Maybe they don't have as much time to dedicate to executing the strategy and the plan and implementing it. So that's what I'm there for.
So they've got a full-time job and they're moms and they want to go and start a business as well. So are these normally people who just want to have a side hustle, or do they want to have a business that's eventually going to grow to a big business?
It's usually someone who wants to have something that's going to grow. Usually it's not someone that's just looking for a side hustle. It may start off as something like that, but usually I'm working with people who want something long-term.
So they're ready to make a shift away from working for someone else to working for them.
Sometimes that's the case, but sometimes, surprisingly, they end up so much happier in their job that it's really strange. Like the whole taking someone through this process, you could take someone through this process who is so unhappy with their
Yeah.
job. And by the time you're done, they're so happy with their job that they want to stay with their job, but they also have this other thing, So yeah, it's really funny how it works, right?
That sounds like the typical hero's journey, doesn't it?
I tell you, every time I see it happen, like I still end up in awe looking at the whole situation and saying, wow, this is really different from where we started. And I hear people come back and they're gushing about how much they love their job. And also they've written and published their book. It usually kind of evolves. It happens and they experience it. And then we can talk about it. The great thing about it that I love is that it puts a person in a position to have choices. They can choose if they want to continue to work at their job. They can choose if they want to put more into the business that they're creating, or whatever else it is that they choose they want to do next. That's the other thing that usually happens too, because once we select something that they do and they realize they can do it and they actually get it done, all of a sudden everything opens up. And they're talking about, I want to try this, or I want to do that. And it's like a totally changed person.
Amazing.
From going from, I don't believe I can, to what am I going to choose that I'm going to do next?
So the name you came up with was perfect.
So that's why I came up with Whole Life Change. I made it an LLC for the business side of it, but it's really hard to, when people say, what do you do, to describe that. And it's different for each person. So I usually invite people in, come on and start an experience, and then they get it and we move from there.
And people coming because they're in like some kind of existential crisis or midlife crisis, or they have this longing to be more and do more and become more and leave a legacy. Is it those kind of people who are coming to you?
Yes, exactly. You've worked and developed an area of expertise over the years. You have a solid foundation, but there is something more that you want that you haven't gone after, or that you have not been able to get. That's the spot right there.
How do these people find you, Julianna? How do they know that you're there?
Well, before, it was literally people that got to know me asking me for help. And that's how I started years ago, just helping people. And now I'm just starting to kind of go out to the public and say, I am available, I'm fully available to help people and take people through this process that I've developed over the course of the last several years, just doing it with people and observing the different types of people that I encounter and how they take action. I've shared with you an assessment that I've developed that really takes people through understanding where they are, which is a good basis from which to start.
Yes, I loved doing that. It's been so interesting because it went into the business side as well. It was fun to, look at my numbers again and see where I'm at. And it wasn't what I expected at all. So I would encourage anybody to do the assessment, because it's not just about your personality and what you want to change. It's about where you're at right now. I loved it. And I love that you also have this business side. Here we are, inspiring mompreneurs. You're exactly the kind of coach any mom entrepreneur needs, especially when they are considering making the transition or considering starting their own business. And the book coaching, we're realizing nowadays that it's so important to differentiate yourself and build your authority. not just by owning a business, but by writing the book and doing the motivational talks, maybe a TEDx talk. All of these things have become really important if you're going to really grow a business. So I know you do some motivational speaking and inspirational speaking as well. What is your favorite topic to speak on?
Usually what I do if I'm asked to come and speak with an audience is I'll inquire with the person who's asking me to do it, to survey the audience, find out a little bit about what it is that they need. Sometimes it's a person who has a group of people and they know what the problem is, so they can very clearly articulate what they're after. But sometimes you need to get very specific information from the audience about where they are and what they need. So I love doing that process first before I even put pen to paper, to think about what it is that I'm going to speak with them about, so that everything is customized for the group that I'm speaking to. I really don't like doing anything cookie cutter. As you may have noticed when you went through the assessment, anyone that goes through the assessment, it's very specific about you, and it's going to give you specific tips based on who you are and what your experiences are. So when speaking, I love to do that first. I'd love to invite you guys to go to wholelifechange.com and feel free to take the assessment there. It will walk you through a process where you'll have the opportunity not just to learn about yourself and what type of a coaching student you might be, but I also include a ton of bonuses in there, like a free life evaluation that you can either take yourself through, or I can take you through myself, or have someone on the team do with you. So go check it out and reach out and let me know if there's anything that I can do for you.